Hello everybody and welcome to our approach into Halifax. We are currently 23 miles from our top of the descent, so let's check our weather in Halifax. Wind is currently 140 degrees at 40 knots and clouds are broken at 5,000 and broken at 9,000. There's heavy rain and the altimeter is 1021. So the weather isn't too good in Halifax, so let's prepare for our approach. We will be arriving for runway 14 via the Fundy 8 arrival. So let's execute that and let's put that there. So if we look at our map here now, you can see that we will be heading direct to Seti, then Tatar, direct to Tatar, and that will put us on final for runway 14 at Halifax. So we will be starting our descent in 12 miles, so we will be back once we are a bit closer to Halifax. Okay, we're back here. We're passing 20,000 feet, so let's go through our descent checklist. Our preparations have been complete. We have received our weather. Auto brakes will be set to 2. Our FMC arrival has been complete. Our ILS frequency, which is the frequency needed for an automated landing, will be 109.1, so we can enter that into our radio. 109.1. So let's make that active. And it says here we need a course of 143 degrees, so let's enter that in on both sides. Okay, there we go. And we have our autopilot set up for approach. Our speed brake will be armed on final. Our altimeter is now set. Landing lights will now be turned on. Our turn off lights had to be turned on, and let's turn on our seatbelts because we're about to enter these clouds and it could get a little bumpy. And let's arm our speed brakes now. So, descent checklist has been complete. We're currently at 17,000 feet and the turbulence is now picking up. And we are about 40 miles from Seti. So, we are going a little fast, so let's bring out some speed brakes now to slow down. And let's look at our wings to make sure that our speed brakes are out. Here are our speed brakes. They help us slow down. They disrupt the airflow over the wings. So they're doing their job here now. As you can see, it's very cloudy coming into Halifax, and you may be able to hear the thunder in the distance. So we will be back again when we are hitting 10,000 feet on approach into Halifax. 40 knots. Make sure our landing lights and turn off lights are on and our fasten seatbelt signs are on. It is very turbulent now and we are coming into heavy rain. If you look over our wings, you can see there is a lot of flexing happening in the wings, and it is very heavy wind and rain. We're currently 15.8 miles from Seti, and then we will go another 15 miles until we turn on final for runway 14. Weather isn't too bad underneath the clouds, under 5,000 feet, but it's very turbulent and heavy rain and winds. Unlike St. John's, where it's very low visibility, very foggy, and very turbulent. So we will be back again once we are about 3 miles from Tatar and turning final for runway 14. Okay, so we're currently 10 miles from Tatar, and I've decided that we need to prepare early for this approach. It is very bumpy and our speed is fluctuating in a great margin. So we're currently at 260 knots, so we have to slow down to 240. So let's drop flaps 1. As you can see, we have the localizer, which directs us to the middle of the runway here. So let's put on our localizer. There we go. And our localizer has now been engaged. And we are slowing down to 187 knots. Very low visibility now in Halifax. Heavy rains, heavy turbulence, and heavy winds. The winds are currently 25 knots at 257 degrees. And we are preparing to turn final for runway 14. So let's set flaps 2. And let's press our approach button. So our approach is engaged. We will be landing at 149 knots because our reference speed plus 5 knots for the wind. As soon as we capture the localizer, we will set flaps 5. Okay, we have the localizer now, so flaps 5. And slow to 167 knots. And when we capture the glide slope, we will do flaps 15 and landing gear down. Here's the runway on our map. So we are currently about 10 knots from our runway, and we're holding 3200 waiting for the glide slope, which will put us on the perfect descent for our landing. So the glide slope is approaching, and we will set flaps 15 and landing gear down on the glide slope. It is zero visibility now here in Halifax, as you can see. We now have the glide slope, so flaps 15, flaps 15 and landing gear is down. And let's slow down to our approach speed of 149 knots. 3 greens, which mean our landing gear is down and locked, and we are just passing 2,500 feet. Zero visibility, so this might be a full auto landing. Let's set flaps 25. Landing lights are on, seatbelt signs are on, runway turnoffs are on, landing gear is down and locked, and our flaps will be 30 when we pass that speed. Currently about 5 knots from the runway, and everything is looking good besides the weather, which is very bad. So let's set flaps 30 now, and we should be good for landing. Okay, so let's try and hold around 149, 150 knots in the approach, and on touchdown I will disconnect the autopilot and apply full braking. And if I see the runway before landing, I will take over control. If not, it will be a full autopilot landing. We're currently at 1,600 feet. And we are still descending. Heavy rain and strong turbulence. As usual, still cannot see the ground here. Zero visibility. Winds are now 190 at 23 knots, which means we have a slight crosswind. And we are on the glide slope and localizer for runway 14. Currently passing 1,000 feet. So let's set our heading to 1. Oh, 300 feet. We can now see the ground, finally. 200 feet. 100 feet. There's the runway, and I'm taking control.
50, 30, 10.
And we have touchdown. Full brakes, full reversers, and speed brake is up. Let's try and take our next right here. Flap set to 0. And we have arrived in Halifax. The weather is very bad here. Heavy rains, heavy winds, and 0 visibility. So let's turn off our auto brake, turn off our landing lights and our turn off lights, and turn on our taxi lights. Let's start our APU and make sure our APU bleed is now on. The weather is much the same in St. John's, which is where we're heading to next. So we'll be back when we arrived at the gates for shutdown in Halifax. Okay, so we're parking now at the gates in Halifax. So let's put our throttles to auto, set our parking brake, and connect our jetway. Let's turn off our taxi lights now, and turn off our seatbelt lights, disconnect our fuel flow, set our engine start switches to off, turn off our fuel pumps and our hydraulics, and turn on our APU. Turn off our turn off our engine generators, that is, and connect our ground power. Let's turn off our IRS and connect ground power. Make sure our rhetorical fans are on and our packs are turned off. So our exterior lights can now all be turned off. And we are here at the gates now in Halifax, and we'll be back to our briefing and take off to St. John's in another 0 visibility approach in our Boeing 737. So thank you for watching, and please check out our next episode.